Most car factories smell like hot metal, oil, rubber, and stress. Thousands of parts moving at insane speed, robots swinging around like something from a science fiction movie. Workers rushing because every second costs money. But then there is the Rolls-Royce Phantom factory, and the entire atmosphere changes immediately. The place feels calm, controlled, almost suspiciously quiet. You walk in expecting chaos, and instead it feels like stepping inside a billionaire's private design studio where every person has been told perfection matters more than time itself. And honestly, that is probably the most accurate way to describe it. Because the Phantom is not built like a normal luxury car. It is built like somebody challenged a group of engineers and artists to create the most unnecessary level of excellence possible just to prove they could actually do it. The strange thing is, the Phantom is not trying to compete with supercars. It is not chasing lap records. Nobody buying this car cares if another vehicle is 2 seconds faster around a racetrack. A Phantom owner wants something different. They want silence so deep inside the cabin that the outside world almost disappears. They want doors that close themselves because even the small effort of shutting a door manually feels too ordinary at this level. They want umbrellas hidden inside the car like secret gadgets from a spy movie. And somehow, Rolls-Royce keeps finding ways to make these details feel normal once you see them enough. That is what makes this factory so fascinating. It is a place dedicated entirely to details most people would never even notice. And the deeper you go into the production process, the crazier it gets. Because while most modern car companies are trying to remove human involvement with robots and automation, Rolls-Royce intentionally keeps human hands involved in almost everything important. Not because they cannot automate it, but because machines still cannot replicate the tiny imperfections that make handcrafted luxury feel alive. Think about that for a second. In most industries, perfection means removing flaws. Here, perfection means making sure things still feel human. The body of the Phantom starts as massive sheets of aluminum shaped with unbelievable precision. At first glance, it looks like any other luxury sedan frame, but then somebody explains how carefully balanced the structure needs to be, because even a tiny vibration can ruin the magic carpet ride feeling Rolls-Royce is obsessed with. That phrase sounds like marketing nonsense until you actually understand what they mean. Engineers spend years trying to eliminate the little sensations most cars ignore completely. Tiny road vibrations, wind turbulence, the faint hum from outside traffic. Even the sound of rain hitting the roof gets studied obsessively because Phantom owners are paying for isolation from reality itself. And then there is the paint department, which honestly sounds less like automotive manufacturing and more like an artist losing sleep over microscopic details nobody else on Earth would care about. Rolls-Royce offers tens of thousands of color possibilities, and if a customer wants a completely unique shade, the company will literally create one specifically for them. Imagine being wealthy enough to say, "I want the exact color of the ocean outside my yacht during sunset in Monaco," and a team actually tries to make it happen. Some customers match the car to private jets, watches, handbags, or even nail polish colors. That sounds ridiculous at first, until you realize this entire car exists in a world where ridiculous became normal a long time ago. But the real insanity begins inside the cabin, because this is where the Phantom stops feeling like transportation and starts feeling like rolling architecture. The wood veneers alone can take weeks to perfect. Craftsmen carefully inspect every single piece, because the grain patterns must flow naturally across the dashboard like one continuous sculpture. If one section looks slightly off, they redo it. Not repair it. Redo it completely. And suddenly you understand why these cars cost more than houses in some countries. Then comes the leather. Rolls-Royce sources leather from bulls raised in specific environments where barbed wire fences and insect bites are minimized so the hides stay cleaner and smoother. That level of obsession sounds almost unreal, but when the goal is absolute perfection, even tiny marks become unacceptable. Workers hand inspect the leather under special lighting conditions, searching for flaws most people would never notice in their lifetime. One small imperfection can disqualify an entire section from being used inside the cabin. And when customers finally sit inside the finished Phantom, they probably never realize how many materials were rejected just to create that one perfect interior surrounding them. The craziest detail might be the Starlight headliner. Thousands of tiny fiber optic lights are individually placed into the roof by hand to recreate the appearance of a night sky. And this is not just random placement either. Some customers request actual constellations from specific dates. Birthdays. Wedding nights. Important life moments frozen into the roof of a car forever. Think about the level of personalization happening here. Somebody is literally driving around with a custom-built galaxy above their head while sitting in traffic. That sounds absurd until you remember the Phantom was never designed to make sense to ordinary people. And despite all the handcrafted artistry, there is still enormous engineering complexity hidden underneath everything. The suspension system constantly adjusts itself to road conditions before the wheels even hit bumps using cameras scanning the road ahead. The doors are ridiculously heavy because they are packed with insulation materials designed to make the cabin quieter than some recording studios. Rolls-Royce engineers reportedly added over 100 kilograms of sound insulation to the Phantom because earlier versions were apparently too noisy. Imagine reaching a level where silence itself becomes a luxury product. What makes the factory even more interesting is the type of people working there. Many of them are not rushing around like typical assembly workers. They move slowly, carefully, almost like watchmakers. One mistake on a Phantom can destroy hours of work instantly. A tiny scratch in the wrong place means expensive delays and complete panel replacements. There is pressure everywhere, but it is hidden beneath this calm atmosphere that feels strangely unnatural for manufacturing. Nobody screams. Nobody panics. The company would rather slow production down than compromise quality. That mindset alone separates Rolls-Royce from almost every mass production manufacturer on Earth. And maybe the most fascinating part of all this is realizing the Phantom is built for a very small group of people who already own everything imaginable. These customers are not trying to impress strangers anymore. Most billionaires buying a Phantom could buy 10 Lamborghinis without blinking. But the Phantom represents something different. Quiet confidence. Old money energy. The type of luxury that does not need attention, because it already assumes importance. That is why celebrities, royalty, business tycoons, and world leaders keep returning to Rolls-Royce again and again. The car became less about transportation and more about status preserved in physical form. And the moment the Phantom finally begins coming together, the factory starts looking less like manufacturing and more like a private tailoring session for billionaires. Because unlike normal cars sitting on dealership lots waiting for random buyers, most Phantom models already belong to someone before production even begins. Somewhere in the world, a customer has already chosen the exact stitching color, the exact wood finish, the exact embroidery pattern, and sometimes even details so specific they sound completely unreal. And that creates one massive problem inside the factory. Every single Phantom is different. In normal automotive production, repetition is everything, because repetition saves time and money. But Rolls-Royce willingly destroys efficiency in order to chase personalization. Workers cannot simply memorize one process, because the next Phantom arriving down the line could have completely different specifications worth hundreds of thousands of dollars extra. One customer may want dark walnut wood with silver stitching, while another wants an interior inspired by classic British racing yachts from the 1930s. The wild part is that Rolls-Royce customers love knowing humans are involved. In most industries, people brag about robots because robots represent precision and modern technology. But luxury works differently. The human touch becomes part of the value. Tiny handcrafted details remind owners that somebody actually spent time creating this thing specifically for them. It feels personal, and that emotional connection is exactly what Rolls-Royce understands better than almost anyone else in the automotive world. And then comes the silence testing. This is where the Phantom almost becomes ridiculous in the best possible way. Engineers spend enormous amounts of time studying noises most people never even think about. The sound of airflow around mirrors, tire patterns touching pavement, vibrations inside tiny cabin components. At one point, Rolls-Royce engineers reportedly made the cabin so quiet that passengers started noticing the faint ticking sound from the analog clock because everything else had become nearly silent. Imagine eliminating so much noise that a clock becomes the loudest thing inside the car. That is not engineering anymore. That is obsession wearing a suit. But creating silence inside a Phantom is incredibly difficult because silence exposes everything. In ordinary vehicles, road noise masks imperfections. In a Phantom, passengers can notice tiny sounds immediately because the cabin is so isolated from the outside world. That means every material, every panel, every component must fit together almost perfectly. One loose trim piece could ruin the entire experience. And that is why Rolls-Royce spends insane amounts of time testing tiny details nobody will ever consciously think about. Customers may never say, "Wow, this dashboard alignment is incredible," but they will feel the overall quality without understanding why. Another fascinating thing about the Phantom factory is how slowly everything moves compared to normal car production. In giant automotive factories, speed dominates everything because companies are producing hundreds of thousands of vehicles annually. But here, patience matters more. Some workers spend hours focused on tiny sections of one car. There are moments where it almost feels frozen in time, especially compared to the chaotic speed of modern manufacturing plants. And honestly, that slower pace becomes part of the Phantom's identity. The car feels expensive because time itself was poured into it. What really makes the Phantom factory unforgettable, though, is the realization that cars like this probably should not exist in the modern world. And yet people continue demanding them anyway. At a time when most industries are chasing speed, automation, and mass production, Rolls-Royce keeps defending craftsmanship, patience, and detail obsession like an old-world luxury empire refusing to disappear. And somehow, that refusal is exactly what makes the Phantom feel special. Because deep down, people know they are looking at something increasingly rare. A machine still built around emotion instead of efficiency. That is why celebrities, royalty, billionaires, and world leaders keep choosing the Phantom generation after generation. Not because it is the fastest, not because it is the flashiest, but because it delivers something harder to describe. A feeling. The feeling that every detail surrounding you was designed without compromise. And once people experience that feeling, it becomes difficult to go backwards. So the next time somebody sees a Rolls-Royce Phantom gliding silently down the road, it is worth remembering what is actually hidden beneath all that polished metal and glass. Months of work. Hundreds of skilled hands. Endless inspections. Tiny details perfected over and over again until one of the most expensive luxury cars on Earth finally becomes worthy of carrying the spirit of ecstasy on its hood. And honestly, after seeing how these cars are built, the craziest thing is not that the Phantom cost $700,000. The craziest thing is that people are still willing to wait months just to own one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep dives into the world's most insane factories, engineering, and luxury machines. And comment below what factory or luxury brand should be explored next.